So we get lots of questions about why a pre-built off-grid system is better than the traditional way of doing an off-grid system, and also how to articulate what it is that makes it so much better. Well, I have a really good answer for you. I went to a job yesterday, try and help somebody out, have a look at their system which wasn't working. Now, the equipment itself, it's not the same stuff we use, but it's all right. There's nothing particularly wrong with the equipment. It does its job and it's known to be reasonably reliable. But the system's 2.5 years old and one inverter is dead and the second one has a permanent error on it and the whole system's shut down. Now, there was no redundancy built into the design from whoever installed it, which meant they have a generator input, but the generator runs through the system. Because the system's offline, no generator input into the house. So their only way of powering anything was just to run extension leads out in the open across the paddock and the wet grass and hope for the best. They didn't know any better and their system had no inbuilt redundancy. So we fixed that on the spot, and on further investigation I dug into the system a bit more. I'm trying to find the main control panel, which is how you program all of the settings in the inverters. There isn't one. And I said to him, so how did they set it up when they were here? And he said, I think they just sort of had done something already and they just brought everything here and stuck it on the wall. I said, well, first off, without that unit, you can't see or program or commission or test or find out what's wrong with your system. That's a problem. I don't think these inverters have ever been programmed, which means all the settings are probably wrong and potentially that something in those settings has not been done correctly and has now potentially blown his inverter up. Now, it is very difficult, near on impossible, to take a traditional system, build it at your own home or your workshop, program it, test it exactly how it's going to be set up in the field, then strip it all back down, pack it all into its boxes, drive it out to site and then reassemble everything. Nobody is doing that. And so what happens is you get to site, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and I assume what has happened, it either wasn't ordered, it was forgotten about, or something's gone wrong, and this screen was never included as part of the system. And so now, installers get out there, they've got limited time, and we just need to get the system going. So they put it all together, they turn it on, and it works. So they're like, haha, we dodged a bullet, it's all wonderful. That potentially just cost this customer 2 inverters that are worth multiple thousands of dollars each. So he's not overly thrilled. The business that did the install was a guy who was retiring and he's no longer in business. So his only hope is either through us, that we can sweet talk the manufacturer if it is a warranty issue, because they are inside of warranty time frame, but if they weren't set up initially the right way by the installer, then there's probably a bigger issue here. So without having the system pre-built and pre-tested, a lot of this wasn't known to be a problem because, hey, we've done it before, it all worked. Hey, it worked when we turned it on. But there's no big checklist of testing that is done to ensure that everything's functioning correctly and that all the right programming has been done. That is a massive difference between us and traditional systems. Our systems go through a 4-day post-build test in the workshop where they are run, they are tested, and every setting is physically tested. We have over temperature limits. So at a certain point, the internal cooling fan kicks on. When it hits a higher temperature, the system will actually disconnect the outgoing power. Noisy fellas. The system will disconnect the outgoing power to stop it producing heat and make sure it doesn't continue to function when it's too hot. So we put a heat gun inside of the unit, make sure we get it up to those temperatures and prove that it works. That's part of the testing. There is also the testing of system fully charging and fully discharging. So the low level battery cutoff, once it actually gets to float, to make sure that the percentage levels are reading correctly and that everything is functioning as it should. That all happens in the workshop before we ever send a system out. They are the bigger differences between us and a traditional system. And then because it's workshop tested 100% and the whole system is built 100%, we're not just trying to pre-program an inverter, then take it to site and hope for the best. We are building the exact system that is going to be taken to site. So everything is done. So once it's tested, we're not pulling it apart again and then taking it to site. It stays fully assembled, thus pre-built. And so if this customer had have had a pre-built system and we had have used the exact same equipment and installed the exact same system but in a pre-built arrangement, we would have known that that screen was missing before it went to the customer. We would have known when we went through all the checks and tests that there was no redundancy for the generator built in to actually bypass the system in the event of a system failure, and that they could run directly from their generator and power their house to get them out of a stick of trouble, which is what our systems do and what this one did not do. So it's a really good case study to understand that, and there's a million other benefits of our systems themselves. Just the fact that they are not just built onto a piece of plywood on a shed wall, they are inside either a steel or aluminium enclosure. They have cooling system redundancies, they have transfer redundancies. So as I said, if a system for whatever reason decided to fail, you can flick one switch and your generator power will actually run through and power your loads directly, and you can bypass your system until repairs can be made. Not that we plan on that ever being used, but it's crazy to not have redundancies built into a system, especially when a system is going to be a quality high-end system that is going to be your power source for the next 20 years. You want something that's not going to be, gee, I hope this lasts till next week. This is the other reason that you use quality equipment. If you use cheap equipment, you're going to have problems because they're built cheap. And anything to do with electricity and electronics, cheap means thinner, lighter parts. Now, when you're pushing electricity and current through things, thinner and lighter is your enemy, not your friend. You can generally gauge the quality of electronics by their weight. Not just weight, there are a lot of other factors, but if you pick up something and it's super, super light, then it probably doesn't have a great deal of copper cabling and conductors. Everything's probably a bit thinner and a bit lighter. And so there is a lot that needs to be considered when you're looking at a high quality, long-term solution for your off-grid solar. It's not just a case of, if I buy something that's half the price, I saved money. Because I can guarantee in the off-grid world, if you buy something that is half the price of a good system, such as our SIAB systems, then the likelihood that it's going to last quarter of the time is much more likely than half. Generally, if you halve the cost of a good system, let's take one of our systems at say $50,000. If you can find a solution that is of a similar capacity that's $25,000, I would suspect that you're looking at somewhere in the 3 to 5 year, maybe if you're lucky you could get out to the 7 to 8 year lifespan. Our systems are tested by the manufacturers with their equipment and all their bench testing to be able to exceed 20 years. And so it may be half the price, but by the time inflation kicks in, that next system that you have to buy has gone up another 40%. You've got to buy at least 2, if not 3 systems in that time. You've got the downtime of when your system stops working and you've got to go get another one. At half the price, you're not going to get a 10-year warranty. So you have all these other factors now that not only have you got a system that is more prone to breaking, it's going to be harder to get anyone to do any kind of tech support or warranty support because they're cheaper bits. Cheaper components, even if they carry warranty, can be an absolute nightmare to get warranties through because the companies don't want to have to deal with it. So they're going to string you along for as long as possible. The better the quality of the companies of the manufactured equipment, the better off you're going to be able to get any kind of a warranty claim. So just because you have a warranty written on paper doesn't actually mean anything unless you know the companies. So all of that to be said, it is well worth considering getting some kind of pre-built system where everything has been tested and everybody knows that it's done 100% before it comes to you. Having it done on site has a higher level of risk, a higher level of problems, and you have to just trust the installer on the day because he may not be the company owner. He may just be an employee. And you need to make sure and hope that he's doing his job right, because if not, it's your system that's going to fail. Pre-built means that we've gone through a preset set of tests and checks that traditionally off-grid systems don't go through even on site. And it just gives you all of that added level of security that everything is going to work how it's intended. So all that being said, these people, and I spoke to them yesterday, and they said if we had have known about your product and that you existed at the time, we would have happily gone that way. This is a pain in the neck, this is a nightmare, and I hope you can fix it, and we never want to have to go through this again, because we rely on our power supply, and now it's been dead for a week and we can't get hold of anyone to fix it, and the guy who built it's not answering the phone, and he's closed his business down, and we're stuck, we don't know what to do. The only reason they found me is a friend of mine referred them to me and said, hey, would you be able to help them? So there you have it, the case study of why pre-builts are better. So hopefully that's shed a bit of light on what we do and how what we do is a lot different from the traditional methods. All right, have a good day. I'll talk to you all later. See ya.